20 ноября 1809 года манифестом императора Александра I был учрежден первый в истории нашей страны единый орган управления транспортом, управления водяных и сухопутных коммуникаций. Одновременно с ним создаются корпус инженеров путей сообщения и институт при нем. Историческое решение Александра I предопределило не просто будущее всего транспортного комплекса, оно заложило прочный фундамент для всех последующих впечатляющих достижений России. На транспорт пришли самые передовые инженерные решения и технологии. Инженеры путей сообщения стали настоящей технической интеллигенцией, изменившей облик России. Сформировано законодательство по всем видам транспорта. Вслед за царско-сельской железной дорогой создается магистраль Санкт-Петербург-Москва, сооружается Великий Сибирский путь Транссиб. Павел Мельников утверждает карту железных дорог протяженностью в 4500 километров. Россия занимает второе место.
Уважаемые участники, обращаем ваше внимание, что в ходе пленарной дискуссии будет осуществляться синхронный перевод. Просим вас заблаговременно получить наушники при входе в зал.
Dear participants, there will be simultaneous interpretation for this session. Please pick up your simultaneous translation kits at the entrance to the hall. Thank you.
Как, например, через реку Амур длиной в 2600 метров по проекту профессора МИИТа Лавра Проскурякова, становятся визитной карточкой русских инженеров. Современные мосты на остров Русский, Красавец-Крымский мост – достойное продолжение вековых традиций. Создание авиации и автомобильного транспорта происходит под патронатом царской семьи. В московское метро гости столицы ходят как в музей. Великие российские реки Волга, Дон соединились в каналы, которые превратили Москву в порт 5 морей и обеспечили судоходство, связавшее между собой океаны. Великая Отечественная война стала испытанием для всей страны. Задачи по транспортировке промышленности с запада на восток, снабжения фронта и тыла, обеспечения народного хозяйства ресурсами были выполнены. Белорусский вокзал, где впервые прозвучала священная война, со слезами на глазах тысяч людей встречал первый поезд из поверженного Берлина. Знамя Победы в Москву доставили пилоты гражданской авиации. Уверенная работа транспортного конвейера страны не только позволила восстановиться из военных руин, но и поднять транспорт на небывалый уровень. Борис Бещев, Зосима Шашков, Алексей Николаев, Евгений Трубицын, Борис Бугаев, Тимофей Гуженко и десятки других выдающихся министров творили новую эпоху, где скорость, безопасность, комфорт были главными приоритетами. В воздух поднята новая линейка авиационной техники, открыты воздушные маршруты небывалой протяженности, железнодорожный транспорт перешел с паровой на тепловозную тягу. Мы вышли на первое место в мире по длине электрифицированных магистралей, создали крупнейший в мире торговый флот, освоили целину, покорили космос, Арктику, построили БАМ, замкнули каскад системы гидросооружений, удивительных по своей сложности, объединили страну сетью автомобильных дорог, возвели мосты и тоннели. Сегодня транспорт России полностью удовлетворяет постоянно растущие потребности экономики в перевозках грузов и пассажиров. Кардинально изменилась транспортная инфраструктура. На улицы наших городов выехали новые автобусы, трамваи и троллейбусы отечественного производства. Олимпийские игры в Сочи, чемпионат мира по футболу стали настоящим экзаменом, который был сдан на отлично. Спутники ГЛОНАСС, интернет вещей сегодня на службе транспорта. Все эти результаты – следствие исторической преемственности системы управления и подготовки кадров, партнерства профсоюзов наших ветеранов. Минтранс уверенно определяет стратегию развития, решает вопросы законодательного обеспечения транспортного комплекса. Цифровые технологии являются нашим главнейшим приоритетом. Национальный проект «Безопасные и качественные автомобильные дороги» даст новый импульс развитию. Сегодня, как и 210 лет назад, мы понимаем, что Россия при ее огромном территориальном пространстве не может жить без интенсивно развивающегося транспорта, и его изменения являются локомотивом движения России вперед в завтрашний день.
Уважаемые участники, приглашаем вас занимать свои места.
Dear participants, please take your seats.
«20 ноября 1809 года манифестом императора Александра I был учрежден первый в истории нашей страны единый орган управления транспортом — Управление водяных и сухопутных коммуникаций. Одновременно с ним создаются корпус инженеров путей сообщения и институт при нем. Историческое решение Александра I предопределило не просто будущее всего транспортного комплекса, оно заложило прочный фундамент для всех последующих впечатляющих достижений России. На транспорт пришли самые передовые инженерные решения и технологии. Инженеры путей сообщения стали настоящей технической интеллигенцией, изменившей облик России. Сформировано законодательство по всем видам транспорта. Вслед за царско-сельской железной дорогой создается магистраль Санкт-Петербург-Москва, сооружается Великий Сибирский путь Транссиб. Павел Мельников утверждает карту железных дорог протяженностью в 4500 километров. Россия занимает второе место в мире по вводу новых железнодорожных линий. Александр Можайский совершает первый полет на моноплане, спускается на воду первый в мире арктический ледокол «Ермак». В Нижнем Новгороде на Всемирной выставке представлен первый русский самодвижущийся экипаж. Ежегодно в строй вводится до 266 верст шоссейных дорог. С наступлением 20 века Россия осваивает Северный морской путь. Новые мосты, как, например, через реку Амур длиной в 2600 метров по проекту профессора МИИТа Лавра Проскурякова, становятся визитной карточкой русских инженеров. Современные мосты на остров Русский, Красавец-Крымский мост – достойное продолжение вековых традиций. Создание авиации и автомобильного транспорта происходит под патронатом царской семьи. В московское метро гости столицы ходят как в музей. Великие российские реки Волга, Дон соединились в каналы, которые превратили Москву в порт 5 морей и обеспечили судоходство, связавшее между собой океаны. Великая Отечественная война стала испытанием для всей страны. Задачи по транспортировке промышленности с запада на восток, снабжения фронта и тыла, обеспечения народного хозяйства ресурсами были выполнены. Белорусский вокзал, где впервые прозвучала священная война, со слезами на глазах тысяч людей встречал первый поезд из поверженного Берлина. Знамя Победы в Москву доставили пилоты гражданской авиации. Уверенная работа транспортного конвейера страны не только позволила восстановиться из военных руин, но и поднять транспорт на небывалый уровень. Борис Бещев, Зосима Шашков, Алексей Николаев, Евгений Трубицын, Борис Бугаев, Тимофей Гуженко и десятки других выдающихся министров творили новую эпоху, где скорость, безопасность, комфорт были главными приоритетами.
Уважаемые участники, приглашаем.
Dear participants, please take your seats.
Тепловозную тягу. Мы вышли на первое место в мире по длине электрифицированных магистралей, создали крупнейший в мире торговый флот, освоили целину, покорили космос, Арктику, построили БАМ, замкнули каскад системы гидросооружений, удивительных по своей сложности, объединили страну сетью автомобильных дорог, возвели мосты и тоннели. Сегодня транспорт России полностью удовлетворяет постоянно растущие потребности экономики в перевозках грузов и пассажиров. Кардинально изменилась транспортная инфраструктура. На улицы наших городов выехали новые автобусы, трамваи и троллейбусы отечественного производства. Олимпийские игры в Сочи, чемпионат мира по футболу стали настоящим экзаменом, который был сдан на отлично. Спутники ГЛОНАСС, интернет вещей сегодня на службе транспорта. Все эти результаты – следствие исторической преемственности системы управления и подготовки кадров, партнерства профсоюзов наших ветеранов. Минтранс уверенно определяет стратегию развития, решает вопросы законодательного обеспечения транспортного комплекса. Цифровые технологии являются нашим главнейшим приоритетом. Национальный проект «Безопасные и качественные автомобильные дороги» даст новый импульс развитию. Сегодня, как и 210 лет назад, мы понимаем, что Россия при ее огромном территориальном пространстве не может жить без интенсивно развивающегося транспорта, и его изменения являются локомотивом движения России вперед в завтрашний день.
Уважаемые участники,
Dear participants, please take the seats that are available. Thank you.
уважаемые участники,
Dear participants, please take the free seats. Thank you. We would like to welcome you at the 13th International Forum and Exhibition, Transport of Russia. I would like to give the floor to Sergei Ivanov for a welcoming word. Mr. Ivanov is a special envoy of the President of the Russian Federation on the issues of environmental protection and transport. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. To begin with, let me read out the welcoming word sent to us by the President of the Russian Federation. I would like to welcome you on the event of the opening of the 13th Forum and Exhibition Transport of Russia. 210 years ago, when the United Transport Agency was founded in this country and the first educational establishment, we started to work on using the railways and other means of transportation, and we established a systemic approach to it. Many generations of engineers and other experts have made their contribution to the establishment of transportation complex. I'm certain that experts will discuss these issues, all of the acute issues that we have, at a very good level. I wish you all the best and a lot of success. The President of the Russian Federation. And a few words from myself. I was here at this podium yesterday. I spoke on the subject of GLONASS, and I'm pleased that this term is widely used. I think that there have been a lot of remarkable events in the area of transport this year. Very nice airports were opened in Simferopol, in Saratov. We built the third runway at Sheremetyevo Airport. The Crimea Bridge is going to be open shortly. Very soon, a new project will be completed. The road from Moscow to St. Petersburg, and it'll be very comfortable to use it. So there have been a lot of events, and what I've seen here at the exhibition, the Russian Railways stand, the Avtodor stand, the head of the Russian Railways has promised me to give me a ride on a driverless train, so I can't wait to do this. A lot of technologies are being introduced into the industry. I've encountered two proposals recently. The first one is on a robotic multi-purpose platform. It's like a solar-powered boat. It will be very good for the Ministry of Emergency Situations, for environment protection for those who breed fish, because you can feed the fish without a human operator. So I would like to call on the Ministry of Transportation to pay close attention to this. I think it holds a lot of promise, not only from the standpoint of environment protection, but also from the standpoint of fuel economy. And the second project has been developed by Renova. passenger vessels. They can be used on rivers and lakes and on near shore, in near shore areas. This technology has a lot of advantages, so I would like to call on the Ministry of Transportation to pay heed to this. We're glad to announce that we have welcoming words from the chairman of the government of the Russian Federation, Dmitry Anatolievich Medvedev, the chairman of the Federation Council of the Russian Federation, Valentina Ivanovna Matvienko, the chairman of the parliament, of the lower chamber of the Russian parliament, Vyacheslav Viktorovich Volodin. Dear participants, we're starting with the plenary session on the subject transport is the basis of Eurasian integration. I would like to invite onto the stage Mr. Maxim Makimov, Deputy Minister of Transport of the Government of the Russian Federation, Olga Golodets, Deputy Chairman of the Government of the Russian Federation, Evgeny Dietrich, Minister of Transport of the Russian Federation, Oleg Belozorov, General Manager, Chairman of the Board, OJSC Russian Railways, Tigran Sarkisyan, Chairman of the Eurasian Economic Committee, Bemba Suran Enham Galan, Minister of the Development of Roads and Transport of Mongolia, Kitak Lim, Secretary General, International Maritime Organization, Kim Yonte, Secretary General, International Transport Forum. The moderator of the discussion is Julia Prokhorova, journalist, moderator of the RBC television channel. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We have a very important day of the Transport Week, and it is very important from the point of view of integration. We have ministers of transport of the Eurasian Economic Union here and representatives of large businesses, and there will be cross-governmental events for the Eurasian Economic Union and the CIS. So we have a stand at which the participating countries demonstrate their capabilities, especially into international cargo carriers, to international cargo operators. And now I would like to move on to the discussion. I think that all of us will be able to get some insights for the reserves for the business that have not been used up. We saw in the opening video the word seamless transportation, so we can get an insight as to how to make it all seamless. My first question is for Mr. Akimov. As far as we know, there's been a concept of the ecosystem of digital transportation corridors. The technologies should be done in such a way that we minimize the time periods of the ride, of how much time is spent on taking a passenger from one point to another, and it is done in individual companies, but to create such a system on the level of a state is much more difficult, especially taking into consideration different interests of the business, and if it's made on a higher level, it will be even more complicated. Mr. Akimov, this system will there be a single operator for this system? And if there is one, then will it be a federal company or a private enterprise? Thank you. Good afternoon, dear participants. First of all, I would like to join the assessments that Sergei Borisovich Ivanov has just made. A lot of infrastructure projects are being completed, but we have the passenger in focus. Export of transportation services is growing. It's going to grow by 4.5%, according to the estimates. The container turnover is growing. Oleg Valentinovich, please correct me if I'm wrong. We have cargoes. Let's go above this level, above this realm. Let's place higher bets. The trade of media, content, online shopping, the development of online retail, or, for example, digital services, social media. It's the same in the area that we're discussing. The volume of physical capabilities is losing its value, and the size of ecosystems is getting value. On the contrary, from the standpoint of digital transactions, the amount of data that you can accumulate and that you can put to good use. I already spoke about it at the Valdai Forum and in Vladivostok. So we will either become part of other digital ecosystems, or we will implement our own ecosystem that is going to be closely integrated with our partners, but it will be an ecosystem that is designed to be technologically advanced and independent, and we should do this work on the platform of our Eurasian Union. If we look at the East, then we have Lojing in China. It is a very smart thing, and I would like to point out it was launched by the Chinese government. They didn't make a single RP. They didn't say, connect to this and use these services. No, it is the environment for data exchange that is a platform for combining many transportation operators, cargo carriers. So it's like a super service. Then we have Nelnet in the East. If we look at the West, if we take the European Union as an example, then we have TAN and CELES there, new continuing projects of the European Union, and they are also based on the same principles. We've done much work of applied nature for defining architecture of digital transport corridors with our European Commission, but in the area of its practical application, it needs to be more dynamic. And these are the areas. Cargo carriers carry 3 to 5 kilos of accompanying documents, supporting documents. So there is too much paper that are carried along with the cargo. So it's the same for automobile transport, for maritime transport, and it takes 2 hours to clear through the customs, and it takes 11 hours to process all these documents. So there are two things that we cannot postpone to 2022, 2024. We should at least resolve these issues for our domestic transportation, electronic consignments, electronic customs declarations. We need to resolve it. Then we should have a unified validation service for filling in templates. We have a service that's successfully working in the area of federal services. We're going to cross the threshold of 100 million users. Every year, 1.7 million people visit this website. But there is a lot of work behind the scenes to process all these data. When different agencies, different government agencies exchange these data. So all this infrastructure is already in place. We just need to transfer it to the area of transport. And we're not going to resolve these issues outside of our Eurasian realm. And we need to create the border environment of trust. The first decision on this has been made. Trust for the third party. And I think that the next year should become a year for the implementation of these agreements so that we set up these services. Right of identification, we've selected 10 regulatory barriers that we will have to remove. And now I would like to complete the setting of goals, so to speak. We need to select a very good architecture for working with businesses. We should do this work in such a way so that no one incurs extra expenses to hook up to these systems, or at least we should minimize such expenses. Cargo carriers, operators, insurance companies, companies offering banking services, we should make it in a non-discriminatory way. And thanks to the president and thanks to the decisions of the government of the Russian Federation, we have financial resources, once in a lifetime, all right? We should create a multimodal logistics environment. So we will we will offer a solution that will be transparent for governmental agencies to join, Russian Supervisory Council, Russian Agricultural Supervision Council, Russian Traffic Police, Federal Customs Service, and Federal Tax Service. And on the other hand, it will be completely transparent for joining on a discriminatory basis for all of the operators of the transportation industry to join. Dear colleagues, we have very little time to do this work. And speaking professional language, we have fruit that is very low. So we should continue to move on to this right and appropriate architecture. And our neighbors may be ahead of us, and we should implement this project really fast. I would like to apologize for taking too much time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have already started the issue involving the Eurasian Economic Commission. So I have a question to Mr. Sarkisyan. Along with the service component and digitalization and digital transport corridors, what are your other plans? Those digital transport corridors, are they already existing or are there going to be new ones? And do you have any specific schedule for the implementation of this project? Thank you very much. Priorities have been determined by the member states, and based on those priorities, the Eurasian Commission adopted two documents in 2018. A roadmap for harmonization of legislation and shaping a single space for our joint transport projects. We are faced with three global challenges that we need to meet. The first global challenge is that today there are regional economic unions that are being shaped, that are the most efficient form of countries working together. And we see this in the transport sector. Those regional unions form general infrastructure or common infrastructure, and they offer common solutions because they all understand that this is an efficient way to which there is no alternative. From this point of view, the Eurasian Economic Union is in a competitive environment. From the point of view of transport and logistics operations, we can see that there is severe competition in the world as to who is going to take on those transport flows. The Eurasian Bank is working today with Eurasian countries, and it has been working for 7 years on a comprehensive program in order to overtake those transport flows. The global challenge for us is that transport costs of those products going through the Eurasian Economic Union amount to about 30% compared to 11% in the European Union and 9% in the United States, which means that we should take common decisions that would speed up those transport flows. They are too slow here. And secondly, we need to increase volumes of the goods we transport so that the cost goes down. The second challenge that we are faced with is that digital platforms have changed the logic of international distribution of labor. This is a global challenge, and we can see that those digital platforms get rid of the unnecessary intermediaries and offer services for speeding up the delivery of goods. And as a result, they control global transit transport. I would like to point out that this year, Amazon launched its first logistical program. Amazon has created its own digital platform, and it runs the flows of goods. And this means that physical providing of the flows of goods is not enough. You can build excellent bridges and roads, but products will not cross your excellent bridges and roads because digital transport solutions will be providing different services in demand in the eyes of international clients. And those who run those digital platforms will run and control all the flow. There has been a proceeding between Amazon and a French company, and the French company won because Amazon used non-competitive methods in order to dictate its requirements to the manufacturers. And this is a serious global challenge. The third serious global challenge for the Eurasian Economic Union is that we believe that our competitive advantage is our territory. But if we do not organize our digital platforms, it can be our weak point, which is why we have developed the concept for an ecosystem of digital corridors. This concept includes providing about 90 types of services in 5 countries that should be interconnected, interoperable, and this means that they should be part of a single legal framework. Moreover, we need to join forces to share our opinion with respect to international multinational companies, because their activities and operations on our territory should comply with our regulatory standards to ensure transparency, interoperability of our system with global digital platforms, and we should also be able to make sure that this competition is fair. The head of our commission will submit this program for adoption by heads of states. We are going to do this on the 30th of January. This concept is already ready. It has been approved. All the basic approaches have been approved, and our digital solutions will be based on general Eurasian standards. So we invite third-party countries to cooperate with the Eurasian Economic Commission in order to implement our common digital concept to shape the ecosystem of transport corridors in the Eurasian Economic Union. Thank you. Thank you. And now it would be logical to ask Oleg Valentinovich, Mr. Belozorov, what are the possibilities to develop Eurasian transit in the context of railways? Thank you very much. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak at this highly representative event. And today's agenda is key. It's very important. I fully agree with Maxim Akimov's position that this agenda is really relevant, and we are even lagging behind, so we should implement all our plans as fast as possible. We do have ambitious plans, but the deadlines should be shortened. Otherwise, we will be in the digital tail of this train. I would like to remind you that the transport space of the Eurasian Economic Union occupies almost 40% of the Eurasian continent, and the shortest path between Eurasian countries, China and Europe, goes via the Eurasian Economic Union. So not using such an opportunity would be impossible, and recently, as a railway, we are improving our services. The traditional issue is the speed of delivery, but another key aspect is how we treat our customers, what our customers would like to see. One key issue that has already been raised today, and we believe that it is very important, and it can be resolved only at a governmental or intergovernmental level. EAEU provides very serious preferences because in the railway context, my colleagues and I have been historically interconnected. There's a huge amount of issues that are raised in Europe with respect to the interoperability of railways. We don't have those issues. They are resolved very quickly, both in terms of technology and decision-taking. But unfortunately, our legal framework is outdated, and when we go beyond our old spaces, there is a problem because the same consignment note is filled in a different way with different level of detail, and these things should be harmonized. And these issues that seem to be quite simple can hardly be solved. There used to be a lot of paper. Right now, we are doing our best to do everything digitally. And there's also the issue of interspace legal aspects. And we need to resolve this issue. We have taken big steps, and there is a good example. You know that we have some good companies and we have good business ideas for cooperation between Russia and Kazakhstan. Last year, we transported 280,000 containers between China and Europe. And this year, we are going to transport more than 350,000 containers. So the growth is double-digit one. Why? Because this distance between China and Europe is completed within just 5 days. And once the border is crossed in the European space, the containers cover 200 kilometers per day. And the border crossing is a certain problem, among other things, because of the documentation. And we are going to resolve this issue in the near future. As for the technologies, all the problems are resolved very quickly. And we are also using a unified consignment note for railways. Different modes of transport have different documents. And it is necessary to have the same types of documents, and this is only possible if we have digital documentation. We can see huge potential there, and the use of new types of seals approved by GLONASS makes our life easier, and it resolves a lot of issues in terms of the transportation of cargoes and wagons. We can see where our rolling stock moves, and this helps us transport different types of cargoes in different modes, and we really need the government to finalize the issue of this digital or electronic seal. Then we will be able to have higher revenues from our cargoes, and we have all the conditions ready for that. We have also finished the international index for Eurasian transport carriage. This involves the cost of delivery from port to port, and the average cost is indicated on a permanent basis. We have developed an end-to-end railway index, and this index became part of the decision-taking program mentioned by my colleagues, where the consignor takes decisions on cargoes, whether they need to travel fast but more expensively, or maybe slowly but cheaply. And without that index, we will not be able to advance in this area. Maxim Alexeyevich is the chairman of the board of directors, and he is responsible for this digital agenda, which is why we are among the first ones who adopted this strategy for the digital transformation of Russian railways until 2025. Almost all those processes have been studied technologically and described as part of this strategy, and there are deadlines as to what steps need to be taken when. We have planned 8 digital platforms, including cargo transportation, passenger transportation, transport and logistics hubs. We developed 50 major projects, but the key issue in this strategy is that all platforms should be open. They should be convenient for everyone to join us or to use our digital potential. This is how our strategy is built. In September, we sent the first container from Japan while using the Intertrans service. Here we work together with the FESCO company. It's a maritime operator, and we, as a transport company, are really grateful to our customs for the implementation of our joint roadmap. We draft the electronic consignment notes very quickly. We have shortened the delivery time of cargoes by 4 days, thanks to the new digital services. And our plan for next year is to digitalize not just the Japanese route, but all the other routes as well. We are also planning to create a special dedicated internet page in order to draft all the necessary documents with all the data as to how much it weighs, and there have been numbers as to how much the paper documents weigh, but we also save time, and complaints can be launched in a digital form, and there will be smart contracts, which are a unique mechanism for interaction, where both parties participate there not as humans but as automatic algorithms. And the system itself can take a decision who is to blame for a certain problem. It's written in a smart contract, and we are planning to roll it out. To conclude, I would like to say a lot of things, but the key element here as part of our discussion is that we can't do the digitalization if we have closed platforms. We should only have open platforms that can be joined together. They should be expanded, studied, and I believe that we might have very big platform solutions where everyone could be participate. We are open for cooperation, and we will be grateful if more consignors participate in this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Oleg Valentinovich. As far as I understood, your main ideas are openness, transparency, and minimization of time periods. Now I would like to address Mr. Enk Angalan so that you share your view of the role of Mongolia in transportation. The floor is yours. Hello. Thank you, dear participants. The role of Mongolia is very important. Why? Because the shortest route of the economic corridor connecting Asia and Europe runs through the territory of Mongolia. And there is a need to create an integrated transportation system of the Eurasian continent as a whole. Secondly, the territory of Mongolia, China, and Russia takes over one half of Eurasia. We're actively working with other countries to increase the flow of cargoes between Mongolia and Europe. Thirdly, Mongolia will continue to be a reliable and active partner in the area of developing transportation industry. Thank you. Thank you. I would like to deviate a little bit from the main subject, from cargo transportation to passenger transportation. Olga Yurievna, it is a question for you. The question that I have is the following. We're expecting the tourist traffic to increase by 20 to 30%. Well, and it's going to be a record. But some people may say that we had most tourists for the World Cup, for the FIFA World Cup, but there will be more. There will be even more tourists. But they can only see Moscow and St. Petersburg within 3 to 4 days that they're here. But they could go and spend their money in Kazan, Sochi, Vladimir. So in your view, what areas are given priority, including those within the framework of the Eurasian Economic Union? Thank you very much. Speaking about transport is an industry that serves the movement of Russian citizens and incoming tourists. Then we add a lot of humanitarian meaning to it, and there is a lot of demand for new transport areas, and I'm very glad that the whole of our transport industry is very receptive to the needs of the tourist industry and responds to these needs very quickly. It is really a terrific exhibition that we have here, and I would like to congratulate my colleagues on this, because it always gives a new impetus to the development of the industry. And I would like to make you even happier. We have a video, a documentary about tourism in Russia. It is called A Flight Over Russia. And one of the main brands of Russia is our Trans-Siberian mainland, mainline. So after watching this documentary, you understand that without our vast territory, Russia is no longer Russia. So it's an important point of attraction for both Russians and foreigners. What I would like to draw your attention to is what we can do really fast, even in the conditions that we are now. Timetable, schedules, direct agreements about the schedule, and it can drastically change the tourist and cargo transport. In Pskov, we did a lot of restoration, and there is a train route there. There is an overnight train. So it's common practice for people to go from Moscow and St. Petersburg to Pskov over the weekend. Another thing is to unite by transportation logistics those areas that are evident, but for some reason there is no route. Lastachka to Ivanova, the result was 1 million passengers per year. We didn't expect it, but a whole network of cities arose. They were the cities of the Golden Ring, such as Gavrilov Posad, but no one ever came there. But now they are major points of attraction. So we should depart from the real points of attraction. Today, tourists have a special view not only of transport, not only of their trip. And here I would like to thank the Russian railways first and foremost, because they are so receptive to our needs. 2 million children travel to travel in summer on their on their program of benefit. So thank you very much, Russian Railways. Tourists are highly demanding these days, so they are. So it is very important where they arrive and where and the points that they depart from. And I would like to draw your attention to railways in Vladimir and some airports that we want to, bring to order. Accessible environment is very important because there are physically handicapped people, people with orphans, people with small children. So we need to make it convenient. We've started a number of projects ourselves. For example, the airport of the Khabarovsk region came up with a very interesting initiative. They give part of their airport to have a branch of the Pushkin Museum there. It is a highly ambitious project, but I think it's going to work out. And basically, railways and airports, in the new context, they are points of attraction, cultural points of interest. We have the head of the Rostov region, Golubev Vasily Yurievich, here. They have a tremendous project at the airport. When you enter it, you see a wonderful landscape, a wonderful picture of the whole of the Rostov region, and you immediately want to travel along the Don River. So I think that a continuous link of consumers and the transportation industry gives new attraction and provides a new impetus for development. Thank you very much. Thank you, Olga Yurievna. I suggest we change the focus of our discussion from the land to the sea. And for the first time, we have Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization, Mr. Lim. A round of applause for Mr. Lim. Mike, we spoke about services and digitalization of the land transportation. What is the situation like in maritime transport? And we've heard a lot about blockchain projects. Can we be serious with regard to this, or should we focus mainly on digital document turnover and digital data transfer? The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Prime Ministers and Minister, Excellency, distinguished participants, and ladies and gentlemen. It is great pleasure for me to introduce about IMO, what the IMO is doing. And I'm very glad to be here, and thanks to the government of Russian Federation for organizing this wonderful event and also inviting me to be here. Just for your information, as a specialized agency of United Nations, IMO is the global standard setting, regulating authority for the safety and efficiency and environmental performance of international shipping. Its main role is to create a regulatory framework for the shipping industry that is fair and effective, universally adopted and universally implemented. IMO creates a level playing field. So why is all IMO is doing important? Because international shipping transport more than 80% of the global trade to peoples and community all around the world. Shipping provides a dependable, low cost, and a very efficient way to transport goods globally. The world relies on a safe and efficient international shipping industry. This is provided by regulatory framework developed and maintained by International Maritime Organization. A sustainable shipping industry is a central part of any global supply chain, therefore vital for achieving sustainable development. I'd like to introduce a few key agenda items facing IMO. First of all, when it comes to the climate change issues, we have an excellent track record in the area of climate change. Last year, IMO member states forced to global consensus to adopt the initial IMO strategy in terms of the climate change issues in order to reduce emission of the GHG at least 50% by 2050. When it comes to individual ship, it means at least 80% reduction of GHG gas from international shipping in terms of individual ships, and also aiming to phase out greenhouse gas emission from shipping industry entirely by this century. But we must now accelerate its progress toward new fuels from renewable and sustainable sources. IMO is leading the way, both in the regulatory strategy and in a series of practical projects to develop new technologies and solutions. I hope that as we move further down this inevitable road, the whole of the IMO community will continue to play a positive role. Particularly, I'd like to express my deepest thanks to the government of Russia and all delegations from Russian Federation for contribution to the progress of climate change issues, for the very constructive, positive contribution and effort to cooperate with the whole other member state. Another key IMO measure helping shipping to secure its environmental sustainability is the forthcoming reduction in the global limit of permissible sulfur contents in the ship's fuel oil. This is called the IMO 2020. This is a landmark decision for both the environment and the human health as well. This important thing now is consistent. We have to secure consistent implementation. The great deal of preparation has been done. Both IMO and industry have developed comprehensive guidance so far. All indications are that level of awareness of this low sulfur policy, which is will be implemented from 1st January next year. So level of awareness is very high, and we believe the shipping industry and the sector is ready to implement. Another issue, as mentioned of Deputy Prime Minister Kimmo mentioned, this is without doubt an exciting time to be in the shipping. Thanks to the new technologies emerging in so many years, like electronic navigation, clean fuels, and renewable energy, and the smart sensors, robotics, artificial intelligence, new materials, and the construction technique. This is actually a new era of smart shipping. This is coming, particularly IMO as well, is very much focusing on digitalization of shipping, taking into consideration technological development so far. So we are expediting about that issues as well. Maritime trade continues to increase in volume and importance, and it is IMO's responsibility to ensure efficiency of global shipping. IMO's work to streamline the many administrative procedures necessary when ships enter and leave port. This provides an excellent example of how digital technology is already being harnessed. With harmonized and electronic data exchange, now mandatory under IMO's Facilitation Convention, through approaches like a maritime single window, cross-border trade is simpler and the logistic chain more efficient. For more than 10 million tons of goods which are traded by sea annually across the globe. The strength of IMO regulation is that generally they apply to all ships, but the ships which operate in the harsh Arctic and Antarctic region are exposed to many unique dangers and risks. This is why their safety and the protection of pristine environments around the poles have always been on the agenda for IMO. That's why the Polar Code, which entered into force 1st January 2017, and was rightly seen as a historic milestone in the organization's work. The Polar Code builds on the global measure to provide an additional layer of protection for the polar regions. There is no doubt the Polar Code is making operating in these waters safer and helping to protect the lives of crews and the passengers and minimizing the impact of shipping activities on these fragile environment. In this regard, I would like to express my deepest appreciation to the Russian Federation for the active participation. Of course, it's a vast experience inputted during the development of the code, and also for the achievement already reached in the implementation of the code, as well as developing safe, efficient conditions for internet shipping on the northern sea route. And also, I'd like to express my deepest thanks to the Russian Federation for supporting for IMO to be granted the observer status of Arctic Council. So we are endeavoring to have more collaboration with the government of Russia. Ladies and gentlemen, I spoke earlier about how important the global supply chain is for sustainable development. The challenge is to move beyond simply highlighting the good work that we already do to ensure shipping makes its contribution to sustainable development. We need to go further, to push harder, and to achieve more. I'm sure that the whole maritime community will, as usual, support it strongly and actively. So once again, I'm looking forward to having more closer collaboration and cooperation with the Russian Federation. The Russian Federation, long time, one of the key IMO member states when it comes to the whole maritime activities. So I had a very good time meeting this morning with the Deputy Prime Minister in terms of collaboration and cooperation with IMO. So we are very much looking forward to more cooperation. And also I wish this conference, very prestigious conference, and all participants here, every success and prosperity. Спасибо. Thank you.
Господин Лим.
Mr. Lim, thank you very much for your intervention. And now I would like to ask Mr. Kim Yon-tae. You are here for the first time, right? So we welcome you. Thank you. And you also represent the annual ministerial platform for transport issues. So we would like you to share some insights as a result of your meeting with ministers of transport in Leipzig. And what is the current international transport agenda? You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Спасибо. Good morning, everybody. I think I have to share some basic information about what we are doing. We are intergovernmental body with 60 member countries today. Of course, Russia is one of our very important member countries, and Russian Federation is actively participating in our activities. So I'm very happy to be here, and I really appreciate the active involvement of Russian Federation in our activities. And we are the only global body dealing with all modes of transport. So unlike IMO, which is specialized in maritime activities, ITF is focusing on different modes of transport, including railway, aviation, and maritime issues. That means that we can deal with the question of intermodalism and multimodalism. Also, we try to enhance the question of connectivity. So in this context, ITF, we can say that ITF is a very important platform. So usually on the platform, you meet people and you exchange your ideas and you discuss a lot of things together. So waiting for a train, for example, at the train station, which is a platform, you meet people and you say hello and you discuss life and love and politics and everything. So that's what we do. And United Nations body like IMO and ICAO, they adopt resolutions, which means a kind of regulations, making rules about safety and decarbonization. But ITF doesn't really make rules, except some specific case on road freight transportation in European territory. But in general, we try to activate a lot of discussions on transport these days. So we organize an annual summit in Leipzig, as moderator mentioned it. And every May in Germany, so it's written in our general rules that all the time in Germany, we cannot change the venue unless everyone agrees. So this year especially, the theme was very interesting because it was connectivity for regional integration. And next year, it'll be the innovation under Irish presidency. So we are dealing with very interesting and important topics. And in the transport sector these days, we are mainly talking about 5 big themes. They are digitalization and connectivity, and also universal access, including gender issue, and safety and security, and decarbonization. So in every sector of transport, I think generally the questions are similar to all the countries in the world. So we are dealing with the general questions, and in this context, we actually want to have more members because we have only 60 countries, but out of 60, 44 countries are Europeans. So we still need more countries, but in this region, Eurasian Economic Union, I think we have Kazakhstan and Russian Federation, and that's all. Of course, we are now discussing with Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan and Mongolia, and no country from Southeast Asia yet. But to solve the problems, we need more members in ITF because we can share a lot of information with the different countries, and we can also share the experience of best practices in our member countries. Because transport is not only moving something from one point to another, it means the connecting people. Because if we know the values of connecting people, we can easily understand that it can promote economic development and cultural exchange, and maybe find something good, some benefit for each of us. So transport is like the blood circulation in our body because it can deliver oxygen to the organs, as organs can be compared to communities and countries and villages on the Eurasian continent. But if we do not have a smooth system for the delivering oxygen to any element on the Eurasian continent, it's not really easy to enhance the well-being and prosperity of the mankind. So I think, not only in ITF, but also in other platforms like ASEM that takes place every 2 years. Shortly in December, we'll have an ASEM transport ministers meeting in Budapest, Hungary. And basically, they will talk about connectivity, connecting mainly Europe and Asia. And when I was in the Ministry of Transportation in Korea, I was also responsible for Eurasian connectivity at the time. But First of all, we have to identify some missing links on this vast continent where 60% of the total population on the globe lives. And I think even though we construct the physical, the useful infrastructure, it's not easy to make the smooth border crossing, the procedures, which can be a great challenge for every country. So I think the connecting physically is one thing, and also standardization of the procedures for border crossing issues, but that can be facilitated by enhancing digitalization in this sector. So everything can be really combined efficiently. So in this context, I think the Russian Federation can lead the discussion in this region, and we can also communicate with our member countries and with non-member countries as well. And I think we can create some synergies together. Thank you very much.
Спасибо. Ну что ж, еще раз хотела бы
Thank you very much. I would like to thank once again Mr. Lim and Mr. Kim for finding the time to visit the Transport Forum of Russia, and I wish you success in your international work. And I have a question to our next speaker. I would like to ask you what specific actions will help us develop this seamless transportation in the most energetic way, not only within a certain group of countries, but for the benefit of all the participants in the transport system. You have the floor. Thank you, Julia. Good afternoon, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start my presentation by uttering words of gratitude to everyone who found the opportunity, the possibility to join us here and for this remarkable day, the 210th anniversary of the transport sector in Russia. I would like to thank the organizers for participating in this plenary discussion. I would like to thank the members of the government, the Russian and international participants, heads of companies, heads of regions. And for us, it is very important that a lot of attention is dedicated to transport. And as you can see, it's really crucial for our big transport systems. We have discussed a lot of global challenges, and I will mention some space issues tomorrow, but I would like to boast a little bit today. We are seeing the end of 2019, and all the infrastructural facilities that have been planned for this year are almost completed. We can have a summary of what we have done. A few numbers with respect to what we have done. This year, transport has become a bit better. Let's see by how much. We expect that air transportation will transport 126 million passengers here. 2 years ago, 100 million passengers were transported by air. Even before that, it was 92 million passengers. So there is huge interest in air traffic. And in terms of infrastructure, there has been huge support. The third airway in the Sheremetyevo airport was mentioned. We have been working with it for many years. We also built a greenfield airport in Saratoga. In Novosibirsk, there is a new air hub opened remotely by Mr. Medvedev, the Russian Prime Minister. And this is another factor that enables us to save fuel, to do it safely, and to give new opportunities to passengers and airlines. The seaports, 34.7 million tons. That's the new capacity of ports built in 2019. And this is a great contribution to how we are going to meet the goals set by the Russian president. Transshipment grew by 3% this year to 841 million tons of cargo in seaports, and that's a record too. The Northern Sea route gave us another 7 million tons of cargo. 30 million tons was achieved this year alone. As for the car roads, we discussed this history in detail yesterday, and this is what I would like to state. I believe I can't say that better than the Russian president. 5 kilometers of car roads are built every day in Russia, and 75 kilometers are repaired every day. And we repaired more roads this year than the previous year. Now let's look at the traffic. This year is also very important for Russian railways. It's the 45th anniversary of the Baikal-Amur railway. And this railway has a great history. And there's another point to mention. Moving on to digital issues. We are talking about globalization right now. As part of our Eurasian Economic Union, we are talking about seamless transportation, which makes it possible to optimize our costs, and we have everything necessary for that. We have new technologies which enable us to monitor passenger traffic, cargo traffic, and identify bottlenecks in this movement and eliminate those bottlenecks fast. And this is what we can offer to both the Russian market and to the global market, to the EAEU market, because they are our nearest strategic partners. This regards the truck duties, and we have collected a lot of money. We've raised a lot of money. We have repaired a huge number of infrastructure items and plenty of bridges. But furthermore, this system enables us to control transport flows. It allows the business to manage costs, and this system alone gives to every particular consumer a lot of benefits, about 6% of costs. That's how much all the system participants saved in Russia thanks to the Platon system. This infrastructure that we have will never be sufficient, which is why it's very important to optimize infrastructure and make its use more efficient. As a result, we have higher speeds or higher throughput. I would also like to mention, and the system GLONASS was already mentioned. It was mentioned yesterday, and this system aims at ensuring safety. More than 4 million cars are registered in this system. A lot of emergency calls were processed, and these calls can be processed even automatically when the person who has been in an accident is unable to push the button himself or herself, or when you are in a difficult situation on the road, you can push this button and get aid. Another important incentive in development of digital technologies and improving the quality of logistics is the capability of accumulating data. This data might be depersonalized, and we are fully compliant with the requirements on personal data. But nevertheless, this data allows us to understand what to build next and where, how to eliminate the bottlenecks. Connecting those systems with those of our Eurasian partners enables us to build global supply chains, to promote our technologies, and connect them with those of our partners. As a result, we have this single space that we need so much. And most importantly, We could also do, as part of this optimization process, the planning of individual deliveries and not only large-scale deliveries. You all understand very well that if a person wants to get a certain product by pushing the button within 24 hours, it's also very important to give this possibility to this person. 24 hours later, this person might not want to get this product. So this individual delivery, thanks to those optimized logistics chains, can be organized very fast. And I believe that our task within the Eurasian Economic Union is to pay attention to that aspect. Of course, we should not compete with each other here. We need to develop together, and this will provide us with the necessary synergy in order to boost the competitiveness of each country that is part of the Eurasian Economic Union. Transport feels the need today for integration, and this need for integration was at the source of establishing the Eurasian Economic Partnership suggested by Russian President Vladimir Putin. Today, the Eurasian Economic Union has huge spaces and territories, and this is a great challenge for the transport system. We need to reduce delivery time. We need to improve the possibility for digital tracing of the cargo's position, forming the optimal logistics chains. We are facing all those tasks, and we can resolve them via digital technologies. This is why we are developing supply chains together with our partners along the transport corridors of the Eurasian Economic Union and Eurasian. And together with Mr. Abramenko, the Minister of Transport and Communications in Belarus, we signed a scheme for car roads in our union. We also agreed to create a road map for improving the system for border passes. And we are also working on the road that connects Russia and Armenia. We're also going to open a bridge on the Russian-Azerbaijan border. Thanks to the government support, we allocate a lot of resources to modernize and improve transport infrastructure. We are fulfilling a comprehensive plan for the modernization and expansion of transport infrastructure. And yesterday, during our talks with our Greek partners, a lot of interest was raised with respect to how we are going to develop transport infrastructure. All those events show that we are actively involved in the international agenda and building those connections. Our next agenda item is the corridor between Europe and Western China, and we got the permission to actively work on that corridor, and we believe that by 2024 we are going to organize this corridor. Those integration processes which take place right now in the Eurasian, SCO, ISCATO, the Chinese initiative, One Belt, One Way, the Russia-Mongolia-China Union, all those processes interact a lot together. And there is this experience for multilateral improvement of transport infrastructure. It's really in demand both in Europe and in Asia, and all the participants need coordination. Great platforms for that are international organizations, such as the international commissions that are part of the United Nations. The International Maritime Organization is an example of efficient and global regulation of a specific mode of transportation. A system of transport conventions of the European Economic Commission of UN is another good example. The ISCATO Convention on Multimodal Transportation is another great example. To sum up, I would like to point out that we do all this work to make sure that our people live a better life, that business develops more effectively and intensively, and there are fewer conflicts on the continent. The transport that brings us together should be this connecting link to ensure all that. Thank you.
Евгений Иванович, спасибо. Но вот из всего вышесказанного лично мне понятно.
Sergey Ivanovich, thank you. We are very well protected from getting at the tail in terms of digital risk. A lot has been done. A lot of good has been done in the area of transport. So I wish you a lot of energy and stamina in your work. And I would like to thank our speakers for being transparent and for speaking so productively. I wish you all a very good and productive day. Thank you very much.